Hello everybody, I'm Martin. Welcome to another episode of Minecraft Enigmatica 2 Expert. Today, we continue on into Infrastructure Week, trying to build out the basic necessities we need to get Ender.io rolling. And today, we need to move on to automating some stuff from actually additions. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about why we're down this rabbit hole and why I'm sitting in a compact machine now. And it's because the simple machine chassis requires a hardened cell frame, which requires an empowerer. And the empowerers do not automate all that easily or well because they require 5 inputs into 5 very specific slots. They can be problematic if you use them for more than one thing at a time. It's kind of like the metallurgic infuser that way. So you want to build a bunch of empowerers, which means I want to automate the empowerer. Well, that comes with the added difficulty that we need Redstonia. And honestly, we should be automating everything with the atomic reconstructor at this point anyhow. So that's the next step I've got to do is set that up for automation and make it so that we can automate building the empowerer pieces. So let me set that up real fast and I'll show you how I'm going to make this work. All right, so this is how I figured out how to set it up. And this is one of the more compact solutions I've seen. I actually haven't seen anybody set it up quite like this. I guarantee you people have. Millions of people play Minecraft. But this is still the simple solution I personally found. So at the top, we've got the ME interface that feeds into a Botania open crate, which just immediately jettisons the redstone down on the block below it. The red block on the bottom is a random things entity detector. If we look inside it, we have it set to items, and we very specifically have this set to inverted output. This means that when it detects an entity around it, in this case the redstone floating in the air on the block, it will stop sending a signal to the atomic reconstructor. And the atomic reconstructor is set to deactivate, which means that as long as it has a signal, it doesn't do anything. So if we've inverted it and turned it off, it'll start zapping, as long as the entity detector detects a redstone above it. Under it here, you can see that I'm using Ender.io redstone conduits. It's kind of hard to see in the comic scene, but you can see that there's a connector going up and it's the red channel. And if we use our Yeta wrench on it and left click on it, we can actually connect into it. And you can see that it's set to red, the red signal on output. For the atomic reconstructor, you have to manually attach it. The redstone conduit will not do it on its own. You have to use the wrench on it by smacking with right click on the side that faces what you want to attach it to. In this case, you can see it added a connector, but you can see that these are the wrong connection types. We need to set this to red and turn off input. Once you've done that, the item collector gathers it all and spits it back into the ME interface. But you are going to want to have a filter set on your item collector to only grab the redstone crystals so that it doesn't grab the redstone itself. Now, what makes this more compact than a lot of the other ones I've seen is that the ME detector constantly fires as long as there's redstone on it, which pressure plates have an issue with. People have recommended tripwire hooks and other workarounds, but they require more space to actually build up all of the infrastructure around this. Like if you were to do this with raw redstone, which is pretty easy, you still need like a big loop around this going into a block with a redstone torch on top to invert the signal. It's doable, but it eats up a lot more space, whereas I'm doing this with a single conduit and an entity detector. But for example purposes, despite the fact that I've already got 761, let's craft, I don't know, another 200, and you can see how this works. Just spews out the redstone onto the entity detector, which then fires the laser and starts converting it. And you can see that it will keep firing the laser as long as there's redstone inside of it. Now, on to making the empowerers. All right, so this took forever and is much, much less graceful. So I more or less set it up the same way I set it up before in my actual base, where I'm using Ender.io conduits with filters on them to add the correct items and take them back out. But there's a bunch of stuff in here I didn't actually automate. Starting with that hardened machine frame in there in the middle. The machine frames were extremely complicated to automate at this point, so I'm not ready to do that. I just made a bunch of them replicated and supplied them. Same with the steel casings right next to me here. The empowerer also proved a bit problematic in a couple items because the coils on them require impregnated sticks, and I'm not ready to toss a carpenter in here with a whole bunch of seed oil. I'll figure that out at some point, but those are easy enough to provide in large amounts. Same with the aesthetic blocks for the display stands. The quartz is easy because that's just a block of quartz into aesthetic quartz, but the green one, however, requires to be chiseled. So until I figure out how to make a chisel work for automated, I'm sure there's probably a way, I'm gonna just have to manually supply like full stacks of that, but that part's easy. There's also the problem with the iron casings, because these require electron tubes and hardened casings. More stuff from carpentry I'm not ready, and I can just also mass produce those. And then the last remaining problem is this is just slow, but I already knew the impower, so which is why I wanted to automate it, just so we can get it done. You notice that it's not pointed out because I've got it blocked from exiting right now because I wanted to make sure this worked. This is the first trial run. This is never the sort of thing you should do on camera, folks, but here we are. But it more or less works, and from here on out we basically would scale vertically and put more of these in, or scale them out in the other room in here. But I'm going to hold off on that until I've got more of the pieces that I need for this, but at least I can do the empowered gems if nothing else now. Although each of those has a problematic component too for the most part. Yay. But it's a start, and this is a much deeper rabbit hole than I intended going down today, but here we are. Okay, so not perfect, but I have greatly simplified the process. So I guess let's close this up by making the other basic Ender IO machine. And I am referring to the SAG Mill, Ender IO's version of the macerators and sawmills. And overall it's not too bad. I don't even see anything new we have to add into this. And that was a lot of work for something pretty simple. And just like the other machines, it does require a capacitor. Now, you'll note, while I did refer to this as the sawmill, it actually does a lot more things than a sawmill. In this case, it actually renders it straight into wood pulp in this pack. I could have sworn it did planks and other ones, but my memory could just be failing me at this point. But it can also do things like ore multiplication with byproducts, usually the rock, or chopping up plants into clippings and trimmings, which are used for other recipes, significantly increasing the amount of dyes you get from flowers, breaking up blocks with a better chance of byproducts. But you get the idea. I'm sure there's probably some recipe hidden in those 91 pages of recipes that actually makes this unique and different from the rest, but I haven't found it yet, honestly. I'm sure we'll almost certainly trip across it at some point for some required component that's deeper into this pack, but we're not quite there yet. Anyhow, let's go open up the boxes we did get today. Only the 5 of them, but I expect there will be a high amount of junk in these. Another colored block crafter. One of these days I'm going to explain what this does, for real. Hardened casing, which I was just talking about having to make, so I guess those are some free ones. More food. More reactor casings. Okay, for real. I was going to go down this hole today, and that's just not how the day ended up going. We're going to get to this soon, I swear. And a smart output for Tinker's IO again, which we are long past needing, at least for now, and they aren't hard to make. Anyhow, as always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.